Welcome to Sense and Sustainability, your podcast channel for sustainable procurement. We hope you like what you hear. Please go to www.iso2400.org for more information, learning resources, tools, and much more.
Welcome to Sense and Sustainability, your podcast for sustainable procurement. I'm Shaun McCarthy, Director of Action and Sustainability Community Interest Company, and I'm delighted to welcome today Zack from Canada, who's got some amazing things to say about circular economy.
Hi, my name is Zack. I used to work for oil and gas company all my life, and I was involved in human capital development part of it. So in other words, I used to develop people for all kinds of positions for Saudi Aramco, which is the biggest oil company in the world. I also worked as the career development advisor for Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC and ADGAS. Plus, I also worked as the head of the national development for Qatar Gas, which is the biggest LNG exporter in the world. What made me come to realize about the need for the green economy, for example, what made me come into create my own company called Provectus. And by the way, the word Provectus means thinking outside the line or being something different, abnormal. So I may be abnormal myself. So I don't know. I'm just a lone nut. And I feel that with the human capital development side of it and the need of the economy that we need to address, because when you and I talk about the green economy, if you think about the green economy indicator, with many of us, we hear about the word green economy, but not many of us really realize what is green economy is all about. What are the indicators? What are the metrics in a green economy? So if you take a look at the green economy indicator, you will find that almost 90% of the item or the things which are listed in the indicator are all related to municipal waste. So if municipal waste is one of the things that you and I pay for it, we pay for the value of the product that we purchase. Let that be aerosol cans related item, or let that be food item, or whatever it may be. We pay for it. So why are we also paying and hurting ourselves and hurting our future generation? That doesn't make sense. And one of the things that what made me think about it is perhaps, I'm going back to the word human capital side of it, perhaps the people who have been given the opportunity to address those matters, maybe they're trying to push the triangle into square. Maybe they're not qualified enough, or maybe they don't understand enough, or maybe they have their own vested interest for whatever it may be. Maybe there could be so many maybes. And one of the biggest maybe that you and I would see, because we as a community member, we don't think about what happens with the item that you and I have bought it, we paid for it. How does it get discarded? Where does it land up? We normally don't pay attention to it because we always believe that, hey, somebody else is going to come and pick them up. Do you know in the UK right now, for example, you're paying almost £70 per ton, just the tipping fee alone. So tipping fee alone, that is a municipal tipping fee alone. That means someone who's charging at the landfill this amount of money. Leave aside another £300, maybe more, based on the people who's coming over, trucking them, taking them from the communities to the landfill. Landfills are normally away from the city. So if you and I, and many of us who are talking about decarbonization, which is a very nice word, how are we decarbonizing it when we have the trucks going around in the communities and it's a municipal truck? At the same time, it's going to the landfill. Landfills are full because of urbanization issues. More people, more money, more product, more item going to the landfill, not enough space. So what are we doing right now? Well, we think that, we can burn them. We can call them waste to energy. What can you burn? What you cannot burn? Why should you burn? because when you're burning them, you're losing the money that you and I paid for it. At the same time, the nanoparticle that's coming out from the plastics and all the other things that's going into your lungs and my children and my grandchildren's lungs, what am I doing? I'm paying to basically harm myself and the family that I love. So why are we doing what we're doing? So the question remains is that why don't we do a proper job of circularity or create a circular economy? And the other thing is that we also, I've been asking myself many times, we say that, oh yeah, from the food waste, we can make a biogas. Biogas is a methane gas. I come from oil and gas industry. Methane gas is what you get from the fossil fuel out as well. So what's the difference? Why am I spending millions of dollars, my taxpayers' money, my money, your money, going into biogas plant where the biogas is just another linear economy item? You burn them, it's gone. So I'm not creating anything out of it. So why are we doing what we're doing? It's because either people who are in that position don't know, or they don't have the need for looking outside the box, or they know for a fact the public is going to be silent. They're not going to do anything about it because they don't care about the waste. So the thing is that what I've been trying to make a point to people, take a look at all of those options that we have and decide and make a decision of your own to say, what is the way to go forward? How long are we going to carry on doing what we do? As per FAO, for example, Food Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they say that over 40% of the post-farm produce does not reach kitchen tables. I'm paraphrasing my own word. So if that is true, so my point is again to most farmers who gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning to look after the farm, none of those farmers want to see any of those produce being wasted. So when they get wasted, they are losing money. Remember, I told you about 70 pounds for tipping fee and all the haulage fee and so on. And at the same time, you're also emitting methane gas. That is killing all of us, many of us, and so on. So why not hold the bull by the horn and make us realize that what is the best way forward in order to take care of it? There's no planet B. There's no someone else who's going to come over and do things what we have been trying to do. And I am so thankful to Carol Ann and people from ISO 2400 organization for giving me the platform to raise this matter 3-4 years ago, which I wrote a small piece, and it's been published there. And this has nothing to do with what we do, what I do, what Provectus is doing. It's just a matter of fact that it needs to be advocated in a way that people can understand, people can realize, people can comprehend in a way that makes sense. Because global warming is not something which is of a country or A region or B region. It's just for everyone, no matter where you go for. Let that be Mexico, let that be Mumbai, or let that be Canada to China, wherever we go. And that's what I've been trying to make people understand, that we pay money for it. Why am I throwing away aerosol cans for the metal that we already spend money for? We didn't pay only just for the liquid that was inside the aerosol cans. We also paid money for the packaging, for the metals, and also on. So why are we keep on doing the same thing? Why can we not create circular economy by bringing this awareness to the people to say, hey, look, we can do it. Now, the question remains, Shaun, that many of us say, yeah, we love to do recycling. Oh, yes. There's not one single person that you will come across in any planet, in any part of the world, that doesn't say that they are environmentalists. Every one of us are. So if you and I are environmentalists, then why are we having this problem? Why is the food waste, for example, which creates methane gas, why are we throwing them away? We use, as per FAO, we use 80 to 85% of potable water to produce food item. That creates 80 to 85% of potable water from the world, if that has been designated for the agriculture purposes, that creates water stress and water footprint issues for many other people. So if you and I are throwing away 40% of the post-farm produce, you can imagine you are also throwing away 40% of your water resources as well. So my point is that what can we do in order to stop this madness? So one of the things that what we've been doing right now, Proactors have been engaged with, we've been talking to the children, we've been bringing awareness to the children as much as to the adults. I feel that 2024 could be a tipping point. I just came back from Dubai, where I was part of the Canadian Trade Office delegation. We were talking about water energy technology exhibition. So if you and I can produce water from food, which we use the water to make food, why not extract them? That's another way of my way of making people understand. If people talk about circularity, this is a circularity. This is where you put the water in to produce. And nature has given us the food produced that contains 80 to 85% moisture. Why not extract the moisture, make water again, and reuse them again? So another word, from plate to farm, from plate to farm, and farm to plate.
Zack, you talk about circularity and also human capital. What, in your view, how does human capital need to change to achieve some of this goal of circularity that we talk about?
Well, people used to ask me earlier in my life, what do you do for a living, Zack? So I used to say to people that I make people work. That's what my job was. Competency development and all that thing, the KPIs and terminal performance objectives and so forth. Now people ask me, what do I do for a living? I say, I make people think. So whatever thing that I said is so for us to think about it, to say, what can we do that we need to do that is not working, but we need to make it work? So the terminology that we use in North America, if ain't broken, why fix it? Well, it's broken, my friend. That's nothing that you cannot say that ain't broken. It is broken. So my point is to many of us to think outside the box, to think that we can't carry on. I come from Nova Scotia. Now, right now I'm in Toronto right now. So we never had so much wildfires. We never had so much flood. We never had all kinds of things what we see. And if you think, and I think, and if we think this is the end of it, this is just the beginning of it. So I'm saying it not only just for the people who are in Global South, where I was doing a presentation for the people in Karachi, Pakistan, where I was talking about, where I submitted my papers for global effort for combating ocean pollution. Now, it's a big, huge topic if you think about it. Global, wow. But how does the big ocean become big ocean? Now, where did the ocean come from? Where is it connected to? So all of those things, if they are not explained properly, then it becomes an issue for many people to understand. And that's what I try to do for people to understand.
Hey, also, Zack, you talked about reaching out to children.
Yeah.
How is that different from the adult mind and the child's mind? How do you engage children's minds around some of these issues?
Well, we've been reached out by a different organization from different part of the world, from Taiwan all the way to Dubai and other places, because more and more people are trying to put a seed, so if I could use the word, cultivate the mind or nurture the mind of the young people. But young people, they, like I said, every one of us are environmentalists, regardless of color of the skin or whatever it may be. The young people, they want to do so many things. I was also a jury at one of the event where I was judge, sorry, not jury, but I was a judge. I found the kids, they are so well ahead of us because everything is there in the computers. Everything is available. They know What do you mean by, food food security and food supply chain? They understand many things that many of us adults are not talking about it. We're not talking about it because maybe because we don't have the platform to talk about it, could be, or B, we get greenwashed by doing something which is not related to actual thing, but rather than just showcasing it. I will say that even SDG goals are not clear. And why am I saying that SDG goals are not clear? Well, there's 17 of goals there in an SDG. They are goals without time frame. So even a soccer match has a 90 minutes time frame. So if there's no time frame and climate change is becoming dynamic, so when am I going to do what I'm supposed to do? Well, I started this. I'm on my way. Well, thank you very much for saying that. But then again, when will you think that you will be able to achieve what you need to do? So there are so many areas. I don't mean to be sarcastic to the people, but I think it's time for us to really take a list of all the stock that we have and understand why we're losing money. Because now if you go and think about it from the corporate world, and if any one of us who wants to reduce the cost, for example, food costs, why are we paying so much more than what we used to pay before? Well, one of the reasons why many people, I'm talking about in Canada, for example, food prices have gone up pretty high. And one of the reasons is that, because of the war in Ukraine, the fertilizer is not coming. Well, we never bought a fertilizer from them anyways in the first place. And if you take a look at the market share that Ukraine and Russia used to have for the fertilizer, it's a very slim amount that comes out of it. So 198 countries, 2 countries fighting, and you think that 196 countries will be held hostage? It doesn't make sense. The reason why many of the food prices are also going up is because of the carbon tax that we use the trucks to take our item from communities to the landfill. That costs money. That's costing more money. At the same time, the tipping fee, which used to be a lot less than what it is now, is also costing more money. So all of those money has been handled or has been passed down to the people like you and me. And at the same time, we are still poisoning our children and ourselves. So it's a double whammer. And I believe that the children's education can play a very important role because they can become the ambassador. We started a program called Eco Warrior. So they can become the marshal, sheriff, whatever word you want to use it. And they become a voice to their own family. And since we all, no matter who we all listen to our children. So if they can showcase that what they're saying is wrong or what's happening is wrong, then perhaps it might snowball. And one of the things that we also been advocating, we have schools and colleges and universities, so we have lots of food going in there, catering. So why not address those waste that can be reduced and create a circular economy by which people can see actual food item turning into water that they can use it for addressing the water footprint issues, for example, or they can use those items where they can use the biomass to make anything that they wish to, or they can do a research development program and so on. Let that be undergraduate student, postgraduate student, or even for the school kids. So they can see and they can relate to it.
Zack, a lot of people in our audience are procurement professionals. What advice do you have for them? I mean, I think, we've talked about a lot of really interesting thinking around circularity. But if we think about, for me, procurement people kind of hold the key to a lot of these issues around what they do and how they do it and how they spend money on behalf of their companies, their governments or whatever. What advice would you give them?
I'm glad that you used the word procurement because I got 13 years of procurement under my belt. I started off working for Saudi Aramco as a common warehouse man. And I climbed myself to the ladder of a point where I was writing curriculum for them and I was a senior trainer for them. At that time, we used to have over $8 billion worth of inventory. I'm talking about way back in 70s. Oops, did I give away my age? So my point is again is that if my only suggestion for people in the procurement, we always go by two principles in procurement. It's FIFO and LIFO. First in, first out, last in, first out. And at the same time, I truly believe, and every one of us who are in procurement, they also believe inventory costs money. So if the inventory costs money and you're buying product that will be sitting there in inventory for quite some time, then obviously we're not doing a great job. So when it comes for the green economy, for changing of the bringing back the track of the green economy, if there is a green covenant of the company, whichever company they may work for, 3M, McDonald's, or whatever maybe. So if they have the green covenant, and it doesn't mean covenant in sense of religion, but covenant in a sense for making people understand that we have to believe in. So if there is a green covenant that will help the green governance, meaning company's vision and mission, then there's a possibility of creating green citizenship among all of us, among every member of that company or the community. So my advice to many of those people who are in procurement, why not look at those suppliers who are also believing in the green covenant that you have asked them? Because anything that you purchase, anything that you have any inclination or connection, it will have an impact on the major company. Let's take, for example, an example of the airbag coming out from Honda, for example, Honda vehicle that used to blow up. So because of the airbag, which was not a part of the Honda manufacturing company product, but there was a third-party supplier, but then again, it had an impact on them. So similarly, why not do something to make sure that everything that you're buying, it is coming from the circularity or having a circular economy-based production where they can reduce their carbon emission? That will have a bigger impact on the companies as well. That's my 2 cents.
So it's about thinking up front about the product that you're buying and the organization that you're buying it from. And you mentioned the expression green covenant. This is kind of about a matching of cultures between organizations, I guess, between the buying and the selling organizations.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that I like to point out, again, going back from my time in working for material supply organization within Aramco, if you remember Brute lotion that we buy, aftershave lotion, Brute was awarded with the best packaging award way back in the 70s. They haven't changed anything in that, if you think about it. Now, why should they change? Because there's nothing to change. They don't sell product in a cardboard boxes. They don't give you any literature inside to tell you how to use the Brute, how to splash it on your face. So everything that you and I are buying, that company or the manufacturer had put money to it, it comes to haunt us because we pay for it. So if I'm not using it, why am I paying for it? So if Brute was or is or was accepted as the best packaging or packaged item way back in the 70s, why do we have toothpaste that has inside those? Are we that daft that we don't know how to use the toothpaste? And what are we doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? So I believe that the procurement has a big role to play. They have the big role to say, hey, listen, I don't need all of this. Slash it off, reduce the cost, reduce the waste. Because whenever you think about organization designing, whenever you think about corporate earning and all that, its whole thing is all compounded. Every little bit is a it's a machine that every part of it is functioning and has a value for it. So why not do inventory reconciling from the beginning rather than waiting until the end and say, we have this, we have to do something like that.
Really like the concept of if I'm not using it, why am I paying for it? I think that's a philosophy that we can use both at home and in our professional lives. Zack, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've covered an awful lot of ground in the 30 minutes that we've been talking, and I really do hope our audience enjoy it. The whole concept of circularity is so important to everybody, but to procurement people in particular, and that's the sort of message that we're trying to get across. So, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure listening to you. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to be with you, and I'd like to say thanks to Carol Ann for reconnecting. It's been quite a few years, and if there's any way that I can add value in any shape or form, I'll be more than happy to. One last thing before I go. We talked about greenwashing a little bit. Why do we have so many buildings that are certified as I'm using the name LEED certified building?
Yeah.
Now, if you and I, we just talked about a few minutes ago of about 17 SDG goals. So similarly, they also have up to 23 or maybe more criteria for the LEED certified building. Why only changing the light bulbs give them the certificate for them to become LEED certified? So who are those people who are doing the greenwashing? Is it just a person? Is it an organization? Is it the whole movement? Is it us that we need to stop fooling ourselves? And this is my point to many of us to say we have to take a stock of our own self to understand what's going on. We can't carry on doing what we've been doing because it's not going anywhere. We can't keep on losing water and having no water for people to drink while we're throwing away all the water from agriculture, for example. So those are things that we want people to think. Thank you.
Yeah. It's an interesting point about LEED, and of course in the UK we have BREEAM and there's Green Star and various other standards for buildings around the world. And yeah, I do see them as a bit of a tick box exercise, and certainly architects and contractors will look at the cheapest possible way they can get the LEED points rather than necessarily how to build the most sustainable building. And I kind of think that's it's where the role for me of the intelligent client comes in. I think as a client, you need to be able to specify how you want your building to perform and to ask for the LEED or the BREEAM or whatever standard. But just simply asking for that standard won't necessarily give you what you want.
I also have one more suggestion, if I may.
Yeah.
Let the supermarket also be certified.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? So because if the supermarket who are throwing away those items, sending them over to the compactor, it's an energy intensive compactor, and then smashing them and sending them over to the biogas or whatever, wherever they've been doing it. So where's the GRI reporting for them to understand what they're doing? Because eventually you and I are the one who are paying for more cost that is related to their activities. So again, if you take a look at the whole procurement system, they need to take a good stock of themselves to say, well, this is something which we need to stop, because it's passed down to the people, clients, or people like you and me, regular folks. And while we are doing what we're doing, we're paying for it, which we don't need to. But at the same time, we're also poisoning ourselves. We don't know what's going to happen to our children or what's going to happen to us.
Yeah, some supermarkets do report, of course, but there's no obligation for them to do so.
Absolutely. So the best way to do that, in order for people to address the cost, is to reduce the waste, which is connected to the cost. So again, this is where the procurement and many other folks can come into this whole fold to say, We have to do a better job than what we've been doing.
Yeah, so this brings in the concept of the entire value chain, doesn't it? I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
not just in retail, but we're talking about supermarkets here, and the behaviour of the consumer, the behaviour of the retailer, and then all the way down the value chain to the farmer.
Absolutely. And one more thing before we end up, if I may, why not correction facilities? Why not we invest on correction facilities? Why you and I, many of us, we're paying taxpayers' money to have the correction facility where we are supposed to provide them 3 meals a day. Why not recycle the food waste and do their own community farming in their facility? That way it becomes therapeutic. It helps them to understand, relate to the life and actual life as again the plant and nurturing and so on. And it's not me who's been saying this, even the psychologists will tell you that, one best way to have someone mind been cooled down is do some gardening. So if the gardening is a thing, why not do the gardening within the prison facility, reduce all the costs and reduce all this carbon emission going from the prison cells all the way to the landfill?
And that comes all the way back to what you were talking in the beginning about human capital and how people feel about their lives.
Thank you very much. You understood that. Yay!
I do hope our audience do.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. So I guess we really do need to wrap there. Otherwise, we'll carry on all day. But yeah, thank you for that, Zack.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to our podcast on Sense and Sustainability. Please listen out for more episodes. For more information, learning resources, tools, and much more content on sustainable procurement, go to www.iso2400.org.